You've been watching television recently. You've probably heard the bad news. The Trump administration is over, toast, cooked, done for good, and along with it, any hope of the middle-class revolution that 63 million Americans voted for 2 years ago. The reason for this tragedy is simple. The president has been caught committing felonies. Here's what the legal experts without law degrees are saying on television.
If precedent means anything in the Trump era, Donald Trump must be impeached because of the crimes prosecutors say he committed in the Michael Cohen case.
Both parties need to get on board to pass articles of impeachment.
You have conspiracy, you have obstruction, you have campaigns finance, and you have emoluments. If the Democrats do not pursue this vigorously, they will be in some ways held accountable for abdicating their responsibility. It goes to the moral question, the ethical question. Democracy is at stake.
This criminal must be brought up by the Congress of the United States for impeachment.
We're not going to show you the Don Lemon tape. There's a lot of emotion there. But to sum up, they're telling us that we're staring down the barrel of a constitutional crisis. And that crisis stems from what MSNBC describes as, quote, the crimes prosecutors say the president committed in the Michael Cohen case. Which crimes were those? We have the answer. The relevant details were spelled out in a piece that ran over the weekend in the New York Times under this headline, quote, prosecutors say Trump directed illegal payments during campaign. The gist of the story is this. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, has told federal prosecutors that he facilitated payments to 2 women who said they had affairs with Donald Trump. And then, well, actually, that's it. That's the entire story right there. Paying these 2 women, say federal prosecutors and their flacks at NBC News, was a serious crime, a crime worthy of impeachment, if not indictment. Okay, but you might be wondering, how exactly is that criminal? Well, we're going to explain it to you. We're going to start by stipulating that everything Michael Cohen has told the feds is absolutely true. Now, assuming honesty isn't usually a wise idea with Michael Cohen, but for the sake of argument, let's do it in this case. Everything he says is true. Why is what Cohen is alleging a criminal offense? Remember the facts of the story. These are undisputed. 2 women approached Donald Trump and threatened to ruin his career and humiliate his family if he doesn't give them money. Now, that sounds like a classic case of extortion. Yet, for whatever reason, Trump caves to it, and he directs Michael Cohen to pay the ransom. Now, more than 2 years later, Trump is a felon for doing this. It doesn't seem to make any sense. Oh, but you're not a federal prosecutor on a political mission. If you were a federal prosecutor on a political mission, you would construe those extortion payments as campaign contributions. You do this even though the money in question did not come from or go to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Then you'd claim that Trump and Michael Cohen violated campaign finance law because they didn't publicly disclose those payments, despite the fact that disclosing them would nullify the reason for making them in the first place, which was to keep the whole thing secret. That is the argument you would make, both in federal court and through your proxies on cable television. It is insultingly stupid, but because everyone in power hates the target of your investigation, nobody would question you. And that's what's happening right now. Now, by this reasoning, any money a political candidate spends to maintain or protect his image while running for office now qualifies as a regulated campaign donation and has to be disclosed. That would include, by the way, in addition to an infinite number of other things, buying toothpaste and getting a haircut. It would definitely include the taxpayer finance slush fund that Congress has set aside to pay off its own sexual harassment claims. Yes, those now qualify as campaign contributions. They must be publicly disclosed. Except, of course, they're not publicly disclosed, and they never will be. Why is that? Well, that might be a question for congressional leaders, including, now that we think about it, Congressman Adam Schiff of Burbank, California. He's the incoming chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, a very powerful man in the Congress. What does Mr. Schiff have to say about Congress not disclosing the very same payments that Democrats say Trump should be impeached for not disclosing? Let's ask him.
There's a very real prospect that on the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him, that he may be the first president in quite some time to face the real prospect of jail time.
Trump knows that he's facing
some pretty strong criminal liability when he leaves office, one way or another. And, you know, even if a sitting president can't be indicted, he's got to know his future looks like it's behind bars unless he cuts some sort of deal with the prosecutors.
So to translate, Trump's a criminal. He's going to jail for committing a smaller version of the same made-up crime that we in Congress have committed for years and forced you to pay for. And by the way, we're never apologizing for that because we don't have to, and CNN isn't going to make us. Screw you, America, and your stupid election. We're in charge. That's the real message here, in case you missed it. Chris Hahn is a radio host and former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer, and he joins us tonight. So, Chris, I know you don't like Trump. That's fine. But speak slowly so I can understand and explain to me why paying off someone who is extorting you, threatening to make public details of your personal life if she doesn't get paid, why paying that person is a felony.
Well, first of all, we don't know that there was actual extortion here. We know that a payment was made. There was a catch and kill deal with the National Enquirer. Whether or not it was extortion, that hasn't been proven yet, nor has it even really been alleged in many cases.
Well, I'm alleging it. Hold on. Let me just stop and say I'm alleging it because it's obvious. You're not going to pay $100 grand or 150 or 200 grand to someone unless there's a threat to you and your reputation. This is extortion. Now, I don't know why it's not being prosecuted. I don't know why Trump isn't defending himself on those grounds. I would, but it clearly is extortion. Well, but why is it a crime to pay off someone who you had an affair with?
Sometimes people want to tell us. They want to tell a story that he doesn't want told. He says, "Hey, just tell it to me. I'll pay for it and pay for yourself." That's what he did.
That's what that. If I did that to you, you would call it. If I said, "Look, I know a detail about your sex life, Chris Hahn, and I'm going to tell it on my show on TV unless you pay me," that would be extortion, obviously. So this is extortion. But leaving that aside, why is it a felony to pay women you've had sexual relationships with?
It's not a felony. It's a felony to do a campaign expenditure and not disclose it. And that's what
How is
this
that a
has
campaign
been.
expenditure?
This seems to have been a campaign. He made this during the campaign for the purposes of the campaign. There are tape recordings of him discussing this with Michael Cohen. And that's just
for the purposes of the campaign.
But
hold on. I'm confused. No, it's not a small thing. It's the thing. This is the crime that the New York Times told us on Saturday. Federal prosecutors are alleging the president committed. It's a felony. And Michael Cohen pled guilty to a species of this. So I just want to get to the bottom of it. Why is that a campaign contribution to pay off a former girlfriend? I'm honestly confused. You're a campaign guy. Tell me.
Look, there's also an allegation that he may have violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act when he was doing his deal in Moscow.
There are allegations that he killed Kennedy. But hold on.
There's a lot more to this than just paying off porn
how about
stars
one
who he
allegation?
slept with,
One allegation at a time. So federal prosecutors, this is not just something that dumb people on TV are talking about, though they are. This is something that prosecutors in New York State are saying they have apparently evidence to indict over. So tell me why, because a lot of people in Washington pay off their girlfriends, including lots of people in Congress. A lot of people in Congress, including, I'd even guess, some Democrats. Just throwing that out there. So tell me why that's a campaign contribution to pay off your girlfriend.
Well, first of all, I think that fund that Congress was using to pay people off who were harassed needs to be disclosed, and the members who were involved with those disclosure decisions need to be removed.
Oh, I'm sure that'll happen right away. That'll happen right away. I'm sure MSNBC will push real hard for that. Right, okay. So, but tell me why it's a campaign.
I agree with you on that point.
This is a central question. Why is it, and for all of us, why is that a campaign contribution? The money didn't come from the campaign. It didn't go to the campaign. It was a threat to his reputation and his livelihood, as all extortion is, right? So why is that a campaign contribution?
There's black letter law. There's black letter law here, okay? The campaign finance law is pretty clear about what you can and cannot do with funds. And these funds were not necessarily from Trump's own pockets. There was all sorts of schemes put together by the president and Michael Cohen to move this money around so it wasn't traced back to President Trump.
But hold
that in and of itself should raise red flags.
People would be blowing
their mind out right now if this was any other president.
Maybe. I mean, we've never had a president like Trump in a million different ways. And I'm not defending.
No, he never has.
I'm not defending his personal life. I'm merely saying this is now being described as a felony, as a crime for which the president could be removed. So now's the time when we need to be very specific about what the crime is, because you've stopped all business of government so we can respond to this. So let's respond right now. Tell me how and where in campaign finance law it says you're not allowed to use your money, there's no allegation this was campaign money, your money to pay off a former girlfriend. There isn't. This made up. It's a lie.
The allegation here is not. The allegation here is not that it's just his money. There's allegation that he moved money around through various schemes to pay these women off.
Not from the campaign. No, but by the way, you're allowed to do that too. You're allowed to hide the payments. What is that a crime now?
The payments that were campaign in nature. That is a violation of clear violation of campaign finance law.
Then I'm giving you a chance on TV. Hold on. No, just I'll let you speak, and I'll let you speak solely so our audience can understand. Where in campaign finance law does it say that taking money that's not from your political campaign to respond to an extortion attempt or pay off your girlfriend or pay the gardener or pay anybody? Why is that a felony? Where does it say that? What are you talking about?
Campaign finance law. Look, I'm not going to quote the section and verse. I don't know it off the top of my head, even though I am a lawyer. But campaign finance law clearly states that any money spent for campaign purposes, specifically by people other than the candidate, must be disclosed.
But
this
why
is
is
what's
that a
being
campaign
alleged right here.
purpose?
Hold on. The president and Michael Cohen clearly set up a scheme so that other people could pay these women off on behalf of Donald Trump while he was running for president because they thought that these allegations would sink his campaign and his reputation.
But maybe no, actually, because anybody faced, I don't know a single man who faced with that allegation, who if he thought he could squelch it, wouldn't pay the person off because it does incalculable damage to your reputation, whether you're running for anything or not. And so it's so clearly not a campaign violation that I wonder if we want to set this precedent. Do you want to live in a world where people paying off extortion attempts are now campaign finance felons? I mean, this is lunatic, and you know it.
This is strikingly similar to what happened to John Edwards. I'm not saying the president will be convicted.
It's awful what happened to John Edwards.
This is strikingly similar situation.
And what happened to him was wrong.
Look,
it was another populist they took out with this BS campaign finance nonsense. Exactly what happened.
Look, anyway, it is more than campaign finance law. Well, it's more than campaign finance law. It is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
Well, that's a totally separate thing.
Problem.
Look, if he violated that, I won't defend
and it's also
but in this case, this is made up.
Part of this.
All right. Chris Hunt, thank you.
Thank you,
Good to see you. One of the most hysterical reactions in the past few days came from a former Obama administration U.S. attorney who says the president should be stripped of his office.
It could be that President Trump procured the presidency by fraud. When immigrants procure their citizenship by fraud, we strip them of their citizenship. When a president procures his presidency by fraud, should we consider doing the same?
Alan Dershowitz is, of course, a retired Harvard Law School professor. He's the author of the book, The Case Against Impeaching Trump, and he joins us tonight. Professor, I got a couple questions, but the first relates just to the soundbite we played. Is there a provision in the Constitution for stripping, whatever that means, stripping the presidency from a president who you think is illegitimate, whatever that means?
Sure, it's called the 25th Amendment, but not on the grounds of illegitimacy. I want everyone out there to imagine the following scenario. Let's assume when Bill Clinton was running for president, Paula Jones came up to him and said, unless you pay me $130,000, I'll reveal our affair. And let's assume Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton together did exactly what it's alleged that Donald Trump and Cohen did together. I guarantee you the New York Times, NBC, MSNBC would be railing against any prosecutor who dared to suggest that this was a violation of the campaign finance law. Everybody would be on the other side of this issue. There'd be Republicans out there saying, strip him of the presidency, impeach him, indict him. Every Democrat would be saying, this is a witch hunt. This is terrible. We need a single standard. If you wouldn't go after Bill Clinton, don't go after Donald Trump. If you're going after Donald Trump, then you have to go after Hillary Clinton for everything that she allegedly did. For example, one of your guests talked about the Federal Corrupt Practices Act. That applies when you bribe a foreign official. What they're arguing is that there was a rumor that maybe somebody offered Putin a penthouse in a tower that Trump was thinking of building in Moscow. And if that had been done, it would be a violation of the FCPA, Federal Corrupt Practices Act. But it's all based on hypotheticals and maybes. And I just want everybody to apply the shoe on the other foot test. If Hillary Clinton were president and the Republicans were saying lock her up, everybody would be on the other side. They'd be screaming about how dare you expand criminal statutes, how dare you expand the criteria for impeachment. Now all these liberal Democrat, fair-weather civil libertarians are saying the hell with the Constitution, the hell with civil liberties, put all that aside, get Trump. That's the most important consideration. Get him by any means possible. This is such a danger to our constitutional system that I would hope that true civil libertarians would rebel against it as I am.
Is it unfair to describe this scenario as extortion? I say, I know something about your sex life. I know a secret about you that you want to keep, that's non-criminal, but that you want to keep hidden. And unless you pay me money, I'm going to reveal it. That seems like textbook extortion to me. Why is it not?
It is absolutely textbook extortion, and there ought to be a prosecution of any person, man or woman, who approaches any candidate or anybody else and says, unless you pay me money, I'm going to reveal a sex act that occurred. That is absolute classic extortion. And it's shocking that the special counsel looking into this, who has a broad mandate, he described it very broadly, isn't looking into the extortion committed by at least the porn star, whose lawyer obviously approached the candidate or the candidate's people and threatened exposure. Otherwise, why would you pay? Just listen to the tape. The tape makes that clear, the tape that Cohen made unwittingly of President